Hello friends, my name is Emile, and welcome back to Reach the Peak, the show where you guys recommend the cars, and then I take them up our hill climb course to see which one can come out on top. Today I have 5 vehicles selected by the community as always, and we're going to be kicking things off with the 2014 Jaguar F-Type R Coupe A. This thing has 550 horsepower, 502 foot-pound of torque, 3,638 pounds of weight. It is an S1 class car, 855 in PI when equipped with the snow tyres. It is our most powerful vehicle, our torquiest vehicle, the heaviest vehicle, and the highest in PI here today. So, the Jaguar F-Type, as far as my personal opinions go on this car, I absolutely adore it. This is honestly in sort of my top 10 cars of all time. I love the Jaguar F-Type Coupe. It makes an absolutely fantastic noise. I adore the way it looks. And, you know, it gives me good memories of Horizon 2, because when this car first came into Horizon 2, I just chucked this thing around everywhere. I believe it was my most driven car overall in Horizon 2 as well, and while I don't drive it as much in Motorsport 6 and Horizon 3, it's still a very fun car to sort of chuck around and have a bit of fun with every now and again. But of course, going up this hill climb course, it's not all about fun, it's all about being good through the snow, getting traction, and ultimately setting a good time while climbing the hill. The F-Type R then, what is it actually like? It's a pretty decent car if you're careful. Good, if careful I should say. Yeah, it is solid, you just have to be careful. It has 550 horsepower, they are trying to escape through the rear wheels, and it is ready to attack you at a moment's notice. That being said, you know, it is controllable, if you just bear that in mind. It does have pretty decent traction for a rear-wheel drive sports coupe. Part of the reason for that is, of course, the fact that the F-Type sports massive rear tyres. You know, the tyres all around are pretty darn huge, and as a result of that, you know, it does get pretty decent traction out of corners. It can start putting its power down a bit earlier, and, you know, power is sort of the name of the game when it comes to the F-Types. It's a quick vehicle once it's sort of hitting its stride. Granted, you know, sort of the top line speed is pretty good, but we can't really experience that on this hill climb course because it doesn't really give the cars much chance to get up to their top speeds. But, you know, you can still get a decent amount of speed out of this thing. Granted, it is definitely more suited to road use, and it's even more suited for, instead of racetracks, just sort of a bit of a pleasure and fun thing. But the F-Type was certainly a respectable car, none of the less. Next up, we have one of the newer cars to Horizon 3, thanks to the DLC that recently came out. This is the 1990 Renault Alpine Le Mans, 197 horsepower, 214 foot-pound of torque, 2,624 pounds of weight. In an exact U-turn to the previous car, this is our least powerful vehicle here today, the least torquey vehicle here today, the lowest in weight vehicle here today, and, well, other than that, it is an A-class car, 715 PI when equipped with snow tyres. It's not the lowest PI vehicle here today, though, so, yeah. Anyways, the Renault Alpine, this vehicle should be pretty good. We know, sort of, through history, Alpines are very capable rally cars indeed. And while I'm not too sure on the history of the Le Mans, I'm sure someone's probably taken this off-road at some point. And what would lead me to come to that conclusion is not only the fact it's an Alpine, the fact that this thing is bloody good to drive up here. Like, it is rear-engine, rear drive, and you would think that would be a horror story going up this course. But because it hasn't got all that much power or all that much torque, it doesn't really give, and not even that much weight, the rear end of the car doesn't really dig into the snow, which means you keep on getting decent traction. And, you know, in summary, it's really very good indeed. It has absolutely excellent traction. Which, I mean, I was half expecting the Alpine to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite as good as it is. It really is a very capable rear-wheel drive rally car. Yeah, really solid, good vehicle. Like I said, rear engine, rear drive did give me sort of the heebie-jeebies. I believe this is one of the first rear engine, rear drive cars we've had, other than the Koala, which, again, that was, but that was a sort of a specialist buggy vehicle. You know, this is sort of not that. So, yeah, a really solid car. I do really like the Alpine as well, actually. The Alpine Le Mans is probably my favourite of all of the Alpine cars. I just really like the way this thing looks, and it makes an absolutely awesome sound as well. You're probably hearing that now. Yeah, it makes an absolutely fantastic noise. And it's just a really very good car to get along with and drive, even up here, which is definitely a good thing. Next up, we go to another rally car. This is the 1994 Toyota Celica GT-Four ST205 is the model name. 255 horsepower, 224 foot-pound of torque, 3,175 pounds of weight. This is an A-class car, 746 in PI. People often ask me what my favourite rally car is, and honestly, the Celica GT-Four may possibly be it. I really like this model of Celica. So much so that I'd actually really like to buy one in real life. Yeah, I just really like the way this vehicle looks. I love it with the Castrol livery as you're seeing here, or even just with no livery at all. It's just an awesome car. I've always really liked the way the GT-Four looks, and I just like it as a rally car. Granted, you know, other cars that are up there, like the 1998 Toyota Corolla. Toyota, just for me, when they go off-roading, they build pretty good cars, although I'm still not sure what to make of the Yaris that's going rallying, in fact now I believe. Anyways, as far as the drive, what is it like? It's a great all-wheel drive car. You know, these 90s rally cars are all basically the same. They have around 250 horsepower, they have all-wheel drive, and they're good. I will say, this one is possibly the most fun of the bunch that I've had to drive up here as of yet. It's just, you know, it does give you a little bit of a rush, this car. It is a pretty darn quick vehicle. And also, you know, yeah, it's just good. It's a very good vehicle, and it is fun. It's hard to describe how it's fun, but, you know, drive it and you'll probably see. Granted, you know, it is safe. It's all-wheel drive, of course it is. And that does mean, you know, naturally it's going to set a good time up here. Be interesting to see how this does compared to the other 90s rally cars. But yeah, the Celica GT-Four, I just love this vehicle. It's a really very good car. I built one of these to A-Class for sort of just normal track racing, and it's great. I've built them for rally, I've built them, well, even for this, just sticking the snow tyres on it, and they're good all the time. As far as cars which you can sort of build with confidence that they'll be good no matter what you try and give them, Celica GT-Four is a pretty darn good shout, if I'm being honest. So yeah, if you need a car to build, I mean, it is a decent sort of platform to build on. Next up, we have another one of the new DLC cars. This is the 1985 HDT Commodore VK Group A, to give it its full name. I'm just going to call it the Commodore VK because the Group A bit is used by another Commodore as well. Anyways, 263 horsepower, 308 foot-pound of torque, 2,954 pounds of weight. It is an A-Class car, 714 in PI. It is tied for the lowest PI vehicle here today. So, the Commodores. I actually, out of all of the Commodores that we've currently got in this game, this one might very well be my favourite. It's very close between this and the HSV GTSR, because I love that thing just because it's crazy. But I just kind of like this vehicle. Granted, it is literally a pumped-up Cavalier, but yeah, it's still, I don't know, there's something about the way this car looks. I love the blue it comes in as well. It's just a cool vehicle, and I do like this model of the Commodore. Anyways, as far as actually driving this thing, oh boy, it's not great. It is a muscle car, there's no getting around that, and it is an 80s muscle car, and as we've seen before, 80s muscle cars aren't necessarily the best. You know, sort of late 70s to the early 90s, they weren't particularly good. You know, Camaro IROC Z didn't do particularly well up here. The King Cobra was awful, because the King Cobra is awful. It's an awful car all the time. Yeah, the Commodore, it just feels heavy, man. It feels so heavy, and it weighs less than 3,000 pounds, so I can't describe it, but just driving it around here on the snow, it's such a heavy, lethargic feeling car. It tries to slide around a lot, as you can see, and it will get bogged down. You know, sort of, it just ends up spinning the wheels, and you can sort of see it a little bit. When more snow starts rushing off the car, that's when you sort of start knowing that it's getting a little bit bogged down, and it's just not a great car for sort of rally work. Granted, you know, driving this thing on the road, it's pretty okay. I mean, I prefer the other Commodore, the 88, I believe. That's the better handling of the two, if we're talking about driving alone. You know, the 88 is the much better handling vehicle. But it's still not bad on road. But that being said, yeah, just don't drive this on the snow. It's just not very good, and you'll be ultimately disappointed. And you don't want to be disappointed because it's a pretty cool car other than that. Finally today, we have another front-wheel drive car. This is the 2003 Ford Focus RS, and it has 212 horsepower, 228 foot-pound of torque, 2,822 pounds of weight. It is an A-Class car, 714 in PI. It is tied with the Commodore VK for the lowest PI vehicle of today. So, the Focus RS, again another car which kinda has a bit of rally pedigree. The first gen Focuses, and even the second gen actually, they went rallying. The first gen was of course piloted by none other than Mr. Colin McRae, and yeah, really good rally driver, and as a result the Focus did really well in rally, at least in the first generation. I'm not too sure how the second gen did. I think it did relatively well though. Anyways, of course this is the Focus RS, this is the B-Road Barnstormer. And I really like the Focus RS actually of this generation. I love the first generation Ford Focus, and the RS to me, it's sort of the pinnacle. I mean, I really like the ST170 as well. The ST170 might just edge it out because the ST170 is a little bit better to live with. But I do really like the 03 Focus RS, and I've built these up multiple times. They're very capable rally cars, so it was interesting to see what it's like when it is from standard. Of course, it's got snow tyres, but it's still standard build. Anyways, what is it like? It is great. It's a great handling car. This thing, honestly, handling wise, the EK9, I still insist, is the best handling hot hatch we've had up here thus far. This gets close to it though. Granted, this has 30 more horsepower than the EK9, and that does mean there's a little bit more understeer of the EK9, but it's a very good vehicle. It really is very good. As far as sort of like an all-round car, this might even be better than the Civic EK9, just because it's got that little bit more sort of top-end speed and so on. Yeah, really very solid hot hatch to drive. Sort of, we've seen this before, front-wheel drive cars are freakishly fast, so it'll be interesting to sort of see where this comes, especially with the other vehicles that we've had around today. But yeah, it's a really very good car, this. If you haven't driven the 03 Focus RS, I do recommend it. It's one of the better handling hot hatches in the entire game, and I assure you, you will not be disappointed by it. Anyways, moving on to the times for today, and it is the Jaguar F-Type. That is the fastest car today, going to 39th with a 2:15.169. Just beats out the F-Pace, which is kind of ironic. Also beats the Skylines, Falcon XR8, beats last week's Civic Type R. Just misses out on the Alpha 4C by 0.7 of a second, but really respectable time from that car. Moving down the board some more, we find this Celica GT-Four in 49th with a 2:17.070. Actually beats the Koala, which is pretty darn good going. And the Alpine Le Mans goes into 52nd with a 2:17.871, a little bit quicker than the E36 M3. Yeah, the Alpine Le Mans, really good car, and so was the Celica GT-Four. You know, pretty much everything here today was good, save for the Commodore, which was a little bit, yeah. But yeah, solid times from those cars all around. Moving down the board some more, we find the Focus RS in 61st, 219.273, beats the Vantage V600 because it's front-wheel drive, beats the Hellcat Challenger. Yeah, a really very interesting time, and it does also beat the EK9 Civic by over 7 seconds, I believe. And our final car for today, in 86th place, it is the HDT Commodore. 225.045 isn't a bad time. It's not too far off a Renault 5 Turbo. It is quicker than, it's quicker than the Polaris, the Impala, the Wrangler Rubicon, but ultimately that car just wasn't very good, if I'm being honest. Anyways, friends, that is it for this episode of Reach a Peak. As always, if you've got cars you'd like to request for this series, please do let me know by typing them down below in the comment section. With that all being said and done, friends, thank you all very much for watching. Mine has been the Real Emile, and until next time, a farewell.